Okay, one take, let's go. YouTube, good morning. In today's video, I'm joined by a good friend of mine. In fact, probably my best friend when I was growing up. His name is Noah, and what's interesting about him is he was once a professional footballer. He was a footballer for one of the clubs that used to exist here in South Africa. Unfortunately, they don't exist anymore, but when he was playing for them, they were a really good team. Since then, things have kind of changed in his life. He's now living abroad, he's living in America, and this is basically the story of his career, the ups, the downs, how it went for him, and ultimately where he is now. If you enjoy part one, please hit the like button and subscribe so I can load part two. And if you want to watch the whole podcast, it's available on my channel under the playlists. You can probably find it through the click-throughs after the video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe and all those good things. And yeah, enjoy the video. I knew when you were going to training. I knew which club you were playing for. Um, I knew some of the struggles that you went through, but it would be very interesting to hear the story from your perspective again, years on now, when maybe it's a little bit easier to talk about, or maybe it's something that it was something in your past, and could be something interesting to kind of reflect on now if you're keen. Um, so yeah, if you're keen, I mean, take me back to the very
Yeah,
beginning.
sure.
Why, how did this happen?
Why?
How did you become a footballer? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, starting at the very, very beginning, I always loved football. Like growing up, it was a big thing in my household. My dad, my brother, and I used to like watch Premier League on a Saturday, and then we'd go out into the garden and like play 2v1 from when I was like 4 years old. So always it was always a big part of my life. Um, I always really, really enjoyed it and still do enjoy playing a lot. And so when I was about 12
Thing
or
in my household.
13, and I was a goalie at like the local club at this point. Um, I got the opportunity to join like a fairly elite academy team. And that was kind of a crossroads in my life, mostly because it was the first time I was around other kids of my age who all wanted to play pro. Like everybody, there was no other option for them. And we can go into why that was. And a lot of them came from disadvantaged backgrounds. And so it was a very, very different experience for me. Before I was like playing with kids who lived in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
Well,
obviously
just to
being like a
ask,
white South African in the late 90s, early 2000s,
yeah, yeah,
it was a very different experience. Yeah, go for
yeah.
it.
Just to ask you on that topic as well. I mean, okay, no offense, we weren't exactly from disadvantaged backgrounds, and I mean, that's just something that we own, and that's just who we were. But these kids that you were playing with rather, they were doing this probably not because they had dreams of being footballers, but they realized that this is potentially something that can earn them a living for the rest of their lives. Was it, how was it to be someone different to them in that regard, where you are doing it for the love of the game and they might be doing it for other reasons to support families, etc.? How did you fit in that regard, and how did it make you feel?
Yeah, I don't think I really realized it at the time, just how different I really was. I mean, I could always feel it, and I was very fortunate, of course, growing up in like a a privileged place. Like my family was very comfortable, and so it was an an interesting experience being with them because I think they felt that I was very different and I was an outsider because of where I came from. And I felt that I was an insider because we were all just playing soccer.
Mm.
I was like, oh, we're all just friends. Like this is like what we do, and we all just want to play pro, and it's all great. So it was interesting, and like looking back on it now, I don't think I really appreciated the dynamic. um, and perhaps how they perceive me. But in spite of that, like I made some really great friends, and like over the period of time, I had fantastic experiences, and I learned a lot. And I think a lot of the experiences with those guys shaped who I am today. So it was great. Like I would not trade it. I would not trade it for the world. In terms of just what they were like, what they were doing it for versus what I was doing it for, I think it's come out subsequently just how people who come from less privileged places look to the success of people like them in order to kind of shape what they think success is, right? And this is not only a South African, like not only true in a South African context. I think it's true in many contexts.
Yeah.
The US is no different, right? Where you have a kid growing up in like in a city or like a township in South Africa, and they look around and they're like, who are the people around me that have gone on to be successful, make money? And it's like, it's all athletes and musicians, right? And so that's like the path, that's like what you see, you know, like this is my way out and it's my only way out. And the kids who are good at football are very fortunate because they're like, okay, I'm good at this, I'm athletic. This is like my route to success. It's take my family out, get my family out of here, make a better life for me, my family, my kids, whatever. For me, it was different. It was like, soccer is a great avenue and I really want to make it. And I love playing, so it's really fun. But I knew that for me, I was still getting a really good education. I went to a really good school. I knew that I could get into a good college. And if I needed, if football didn't work out, like I had a plan B. And as it turns out, my plan B turned out to be my plan A, but I was in a very different position to them.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, it all makes for, you know, it all makes for a good story at the end of the day. It makes for memories. It's something that you look back on, and it's where you started. You know, it's in. I think it's also it speaks to the nature of, I suppose, grassroots football in South Africa, where the academies are where the academies are, and all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds will end up in those academies for various reasons. And no one should feel, at the end of the day, you're all there to do the same thing. You're all there to play football. So no one should feel any different. At the end of the day, you all have the same goal. Some have, alternative motives to it or alternative goals. But at the end of the day, you all just want to try your best there and make it out as a footballer. So that's where you started. So, carry on with the story. So, you got into the academy. You've started playing with a lot of different people. So what age were you at this point? I can't remember if you mentioned.
Yeah, I started when I was 13, and I played for this team through the point when I was about 16. I then had a brief stint of a year playing at like one of the local clubs again, and then got the opportunity to sign for like the reserve team of one of the when I thought I was a big shot, of course. Still finishing high school, and that was really the beginning of me realizing like, oh, maybe I actually have a shot at this. And so that was also a very different experience, because from being kind of a kid with around other kids, suddenly everyone is there and they're like kind of within touching distance of like the pros.
Yeah.
And so everyone has like a slightly different attitude, right? Because you're seeing people around you who are making it every day. Like there's guys being called up, they're going to train with the first team, they're going to like they get signed, get contracts with the first team, and then you see some guys go on and they sign for other teams, and it's like a whole different ball game at that point, and like you feel like you're right there. And so that was an interesting time too. We really struggled that first season, but I think that ultimately benefited me because it meant there was a lot of shots on goal against us, and so I could kind of shine. I think.
Yeah, I suppose one way or another. I remember you once told me that you played a game where you guys lost like 5-0, but you were the man in the match because you saved like 20 shots or something.
Yeah, that might happen. Yeah.
So what was it?
So,
What was
so that
it
was
like?
yeah.
Yeah. What was it like day to day? Being because now you're maybe not in the first team yet. You're still there or thereabouts. You're still trying to break through. But what was it like day to day as effectively a professional footballer already?
Yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't any different from before, really. It's like I would go to school in the morning, and then I'd finish school at whatever we used to finish school at, 2 or 3 o'clock, and then I'd get taken over to the field, which thank God was only like a 20-minute drive away from where we went to school. So, and then we would train for a couple hours and maybe hit the gym quickly, and then go home and do my homework like a normal school kid. Even though I felt like a big shot, I was still like still doing the same thing as everyone else. And then on weekends, we would travel to games. So probably didn't have as much of a social life as some other people, but I was super happy. I was just pumped to be playing.
I mean, that's the dream, I think, for everyone, to be honest, especially when you're young. I'm sure young footballers all around the country, they can't wait to finish school so they can go play football. And they also feel like, they've made it. But so take us through. So that first season, you mentioned that things weren't going well. The team kind of struggled. So take me from there. What happened after that first season?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough about halfway through the season. I actually, as I was finishing high school, I got invited to like start training with the actual first team, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm here, I've made it, even though that is like not the case at all. But which was a great experience too, because suddenly everyone was very good. Like in the reserve team, people are quite good, and it's a lot of young guys, so it's people who are like kind of call it 17 to 23 generally. And then suddenly you go to the first team, and it's guys who are playing international football, and like everyone is very good. And the first few months is really like an adjustment period. I remember my first day at training, some dude hit a shot from the edge of the box, and it like came in so fast. I'd never seen a ball move like this before, and it hit me square in the chest and like winded me because I couldn't follow it. And then I looked, and I had like the like a little like Nike sign in my chest afterwards in red. So it was a learning experience, but it was fun. Like I was like so happy. I was just like soaking in the experience the whole time, because it was just like, oh my god, everyone is here. Like I know I'm on a daily basis, I'm talking to guys who are playing for the nationals, like playing for South Africa. Like this is awesome. Like I don't know what more I could ask for. I had some really, like, the goalkeepers I was playing with at that time also really good. Darren Keat was the one. He went on to play for South Africa a bunch. A guy named Energy Murambadoro was playing for Zim. He was awesome, really fun guy. So yeah, like I was just like soaking in the experience. Honestly, it was so much fun.
Did you play for Wits when Manip Josephs was there?
Subsequently, yes, but that was only after. So it took me. So then I took a year off, basically, just to focus on soccer after high school. And through that year, I realized like things were not going to move as fast as I thought they were going to move. They were kind of stalling. I wasn't like really making waves. I wasn't like making any progress. I was just like a dude. I was playing in the reserve team. I wasn't really making it. I like signed on a first team contract, but that didn't mean anything. I was like still playing with the reserve team. And so at kind of the end of that year, I realized like maybe I need to try do something else to like catalyze this. What that ended up being was moving to the US to play in college.
So when
Which
just before you moved to the US,
yeah.
so had you decided that, okay, South African football wasn't for me? Wasn't there a point where you went on loan somewhere, or you were going to go on loan somewhere? My point is, why did you not think about another South African team? Because it sounds like, you were third, fourth choice in and around the first team, playing for the reserves for Wits. But potentially there might have been other clubs that you could have moved to.
I mean, I was very comfortable at Wits. Like it was close to home. It was easy. I was like I was very happy. I also think like just to take a big step back in my life, like I mentioned earlier, football wasn't my only pursuit. I loved it and it was all I wanted to do for a while, but I was also very focused on school and education. And I had in that year, which I mentioned, I had got the opportunity to go to a really great college in the US. And so that was suddenly a real opportunity.
Okay, so let's go there. Yeah.